We are live and we are back, and I am under the weather. Wendy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm not under the weather, so feeling
Just in
good,
time for
avoiding
the
it.
holidays, man. Yeah, just in time for the holidays, and I've got just a simple old traditional cold, so nothing severe, no vid or anything like that, or no flu. But it's just what a pain in the butt as far as timing goes. But we're not here to talk about that today. We are here bringing you another episode of Prosper in the Kingdom, formerly Money Moves. And we're going to talk about something that actually impacts all small business owners, whether you know it or not, and something that could come out of left field, and how do you protect against it to make sure that your business stays successful, whatever the plan of your business is, to sell it in the future, pass it to your children, or whatever the case may be. So the 5 ways to protect your business for success is what we're going to talk about today. So Wendy, you and I just had a little situation with our podcast and things like that. I don't know if you want to share a little bit of that and kind of what we found out as we were kind of going through this process to get back on track. But yeah, take it away.
Yeah. We had a sweet, amazing lady that was our producer of our podcast, who we just trusted her to do everything, and she did it. Like, we didn't have to. Yeah, we literally record our lives, and she logs in, takes the recording, turns it into a podcast on all the platforms, does all the social media. Like, she's amazing. And she was so good. Like, we were like, oh, we don't even have to think about it.
Yeah.
And we were on a trip for one of our businesses and got an email that Janice is no longer with us. And which was shocking. I mean, seemingly healthy, our age, like, not, and she's gone. And so we've been in the process of trying to figure out how to get our podcast to continue on the platforms. And we realized we trusted her with so much that we dropped the ball. Yeah. Because we don't even know how to log into our own podcasting platform thing. Like, we don't even know how to do any of it.
We're figuring it all out. We're unwinding it. She had a pretty good backup plan that they're jumping in and helping us. But what it made it, and I know some of you are thinking, well, you guys should know better, and you're right. But unfortunately, that's and Winnie and I were talking, and that's one of the things that a lot of small businesses deal with. I mean, especially a small business owner, you're wearing all the hats, right? Mm-hmm. You're the chief sales officer, the marketing person, the operations person. You're even the janitor if you have a physical brick and mortar building at times. And so a lot of this, detail stuff gets, you're just moving and grooving, right? And it gets lost. And all of a sudden something comes out of left field and it's like, oh, yeah, I really hadn't had time to prepare for that. So that's what this episode is going to be about. That was kind of a little longer introduction, but we wanted you to understand the premise behind it. And, don't necessarily point the finger, look at what you've got going on. Maybe you got it dialed in and that's great. But for the rest of us out there, Wendy and I were talking, we wanted to put together kind of a short list of 5 things that you need to do to protect your business if something should happen, whether somebody, passes away, a key person passes away, or you get injured and can't do the deal, or whatever the case may be. That's going to impact your business, which in turn is going to impact your revenue stream. And unfortunately, all the bills keep coming in. Right. Yeah. And you may have people in your work that's depending on you for, employment and things like that, and to feed their family. So that's why it's so critical. So, you look at, we're tying this into scripture and things like that. So Proverbs 22, verse 3, and excuse me, I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm a little sluggish, but it says, the prudent see danger and take refuge, but the simple keep going and pay the penalty. And that was Wendy and I. We were the simple, just kind of, let's do it. And now the penalty. Fortunately, it's not a big price, and that's the lesson learned. And it was a little lesson. But number one, you want to create a succession plan, right? What happens if, I know with my insurance and financial planning business, eventually I'd love to hand that over to my keys. Wendy, I know you've got the same goals. So you want to make sure that you've got a succession plan to make that transition. If all of a sudden you weren't there, incapacitated, where you could participate, how are they going to be able to manage it? Do they even know the business? Do they even want the business? What's your succession plan? Number one, you've got to identify those key people, whether it's family, employees, or you're going to hire externally to keep it running or whatever. What's your game plan? And some of you are thinking, well, my business is too small, I don't need to worry about it. you need to have a plan in place. If it's creating income for you, you need to have some kind of plan in place. If it's a simple business, have a simple plan, but have something. Document, we all hear process and procedures and stuff like that. And it's like, we're going to dive a little bit more into that, but, document the responsibilities for everybody. What's your role? What's your responsibility? And then update that plan every year. And now's a great time. You just kind of go through it again. Did anything change? Did you, change any ways you do things, or, who's responsible for what? Did you change vendors, right? What are the logins to all your access areas, right? That was the big one we struggled with. So, that was a real eye opener for me. I'm like, I don't even know how to log into our own accounts. Now we can fix that, but it's, again, when you start trusting somebody, which is great, you've got to have everything documented though.
Yeah. I wanted to throw a fun little tip out there. A curveball. John doesn't know I'm going to share this, but I have a program I use called Loom, which is a screen recording. And I've actually used that in our other business to help document our standard operating procedures, because it's like, you want to set it up, your succession plan, that and this kind of bleeds into the other things we're going to talk about, but you want to set up a plan that if you step out and somebody steps in, it's all laid out clear as day.
Yeah.
And
a playbook.
A playbook. And, thankfully our producer who passed on had some sort of plan, because we were contacted, through her email saying this is, what happened. And we are moved into somebody else taking over our account. So she had her stuff in order, right? But it's important that all key players have that in order. But Loom, you can screen record your actions if it's a computer type program that you're using or whatever, and it can record it and actually list out those SOPs for you. So fun little tip.
Yeah, and that's one of the things too. And we were fortunate that our vendor that we selected this. So that's something too, as a small business owner, if you're using vendors, what's their backup plan? Make sure you ask that question, because it could impact you, whether you're trying to get supplies, materials for your business, or whatever the case may be. And fortunately, she had everything in place. So we're shifting over fairly quickly. But, number two is to build those systems and procedures, that Wendy was just talking about. Use that business operations manager. There's a lot of software out there that can kind of help you do this. So it's not like you're creating it on a Word document from ground zero. But, automate those repetitive tasks too. If you're doing something over and over again, figure out a way, especially with AI. And if you're in the services industry or customer service, things like that, that can all be automated. And, it could maybe even save you some money in the long term, but, customer outreach and things like that, it's going to automate as much as possible. And that's what you want to do. That's key. And there's a lot of different tools that you can use out there, and make sure you train somebody and cross-train people to use those systems. So if something did happen, what would happen if you were laid up, got a car wreck and laid up for 2 weeks and out of the office? How would things run?
Right.
Could they run successfully? And if the answer is no, then you've got some risk there, right? And that's something that some people think it's cool to be the I'm the go-to person for everything. Well, you don't want to have that if you want to run a successful business. I always took the mindset of, if I was hit by a bus, would everything still run? And my thought was yes, but obviously I've got some gaps. So that's one of the things that you definitely want to do. So number two, build a system and process. Number three, and we talk about this a lot for families and small business, you want to protect the finances of the business, leveraging insurance, right? You've got insurance on your phone, you've got insurance on your car. Why would you not have insurance on your business? And not just the business aspect of, I'm not talking workman's comp, things like that. That's critical, don't get me wrong. But are you protecting those key people? What about Susan, who's your number one salesperson or your only salesperson, right? Or, Mark, who's your, go-to accounting person or something like that. What happens if something happens to them? What's your backup plan? And do you have, you can protect that against business continuity insurance. That's something to think about, right? There's things that can cover the income revenue for a short period. Secondly, make sure, just like on the personal side, that you have an emergency fund. Make sure your business has an emergency fund too, or even taking it a step further and looking at a key man policy. If you've got a business partner, obviously, if you've got a partnership and you're incorporated, things like that, and something happens, for example, something happens to Wendy, do I want to be partners with whoever inherits her side of the business?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not. Do they even know the business? I'm going to do everything, and I got to train this person too. Whereas if you have key man, you can have the money, the funds to buy out their shares.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's different for everybody. But I'd love to hear your ad on that too, Wendy.
Yeah. Well, I was just going to say, as far as key man insurance, I never even knew what that was until I started working with you. Like, I think that that's something that maybe as business owners are more experienced, but I know in my world, my network of people, that are more that online entrepreneur, small business owner, they don't realize the power that insurance and the part that insurance could play in that. So key man, just to, if you don't mind, like taking like 60 seconds to explain what that means. Like for you and I, for instance, we have a business together. You can take out key man insurance. You have an insurable interest in my well-being, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And so you can have an insurance policy on me.
Correct. And that's the high level of it. And it can be used for different things. Number one, like I said, it can be used to buy out your heirs, whoever inherits your business. I can use that to buy out their shares. So now I own the entire business, and they still get an equitable, it's obviously based on the value of the business and things like that. It's not just, okay, it's a $1 million policy. Well, if the business is only worth 20,000, then, that's a little bit different. The other thing too is that money can be used to hire somebody. I mean, when you're in a partnership, usually it's, well, I'm doing all of this and you're doing all of that. And it works great because you know each other and stuff like that. Well, if one of those people all of a sudden is not in the picture anymore, what do? You still have to have somebody to do that. And, if for example, if accounting and that's your thing, I'm not going to do that. Right. And so it's one of the things like, okay, hey, let me hire an accountant. Well, that's going to cost money. Where's that money going to come from? Well, you can either take it from revenue, which is going to go down because you've lost a key person, right? Key man or key woman. So the other aspect is, okay, that money can then be used to hire. So there's a lot of different things you can do, but it's critical.
Yeah.
Now, if you're a solopreneur and you're not making that much money and, you're just getting started, probably a little premature for that. But as you start to grow, as you hire salespeople, key operations people, things like that, those are all key people in your business. And ask yourself, if they were gone tomorrow, just all of a sudden, what would I do? And how would I account for that? And that's where, making sure you protect those finances with, the insurance component. And we can help you out on that. We work with all kinds of businesses doing coaching and things like that. So if that's something you need, definitely reach out. Number 4, and this is where it gets into the legal piece, and everybody's like, oh, it's so expensive, I can't do this. And that is so wrong. It's not expensive to have an attorney on call, but to establish a power of attorney and some kind of legal framework that somebody else can step in, a trusted person that can step in and make decisions for your business and things like that, right? I know you talk about that quite a bit in the family side, but obviously it applies, Wendy, to the business side as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is on the family side, but I was just talking about this the other day with my mom. I guess one of my kids, I said, oh, if he's injured and goes to the hospital, like he's 18, I can't just call up and find out what's going on, right? Because unless I have some kind of power of attorney, or he went in and said, this is my person that, that can call. But same thing in business. Yeah. There's power of attorney for the financial side and for healthcare side. Those are two different things to be aware of and figure out if that's needed in your business. And like you said, people think it's so expensive. You and I both have lawyers in our back pocket, literally, with the couple touches of an app, we can, contact an attorney that's basically on call for us and for a low monthly payment. So it's pretty awesome. I use it.
Well, and that's the thing too. I mean, that's, people think it's so expensive. And if you go to a traditional attorney, it is, right? And don't get me wrong, if you got a huge corporation, even at the point where attorneys on staff or whatever, but for a small business owner or even a family, an individual family, we live in a litigious society. Everybody's suing everybody for everything, trying to get a free, whatever. Oh, you fender bendered me. Oh, okay, I can't walk now. I was going 10 miles an hour. Well, still, I'm going to sue you. And the hopes are that, you know, they're going to see assets. They go to an attorney and the attorney looks and says, okay, well, you know, I'm going to do this case pro bono, but I'm going to take half the winnings. They're going to look to see, you know, who you are, what you got. And if you don't have an attorney, even if you're in the right and everything works out in your favor, you're still going to spend a bunch on attorney's fees.
Yep.
Businesses are the same way, right? And businesses deal with all kinds of documents. They get, you know, and maybe you get an IRS document, or maybe you know, have somebody that's trying to sue you or not pay you, things like that, for your services and whatnot. And that's where an attorney can be critical, and it can get into quite an expense. Whereas, you know, the service that you and I both use, and I've been a member since 2002, you know, and I love it. And it's saved me literally thousands on my business. And I think $45 a month. I don't pay it. My business pays it. Yeah. And that's a way to set that up. So if you want more information on that, we'll have a link in the feed as well. Take a look at it. But you can do that on the personal side. And that covers your dependent children too. So when they go to college and whatnot. But it's so critical that you have somebody on your side that's working for you, that you have a relationship with before something happens. But you want to get those power of attorneys and whatnot set up. So in the event that, you know, again, something happens, you already have a plan that somebody can step in. So, okay, well, I'm still going to take the bills, negotiate contracts and whatnot. Somebody that you trust to manage that business for you while you were incapacitated. If not, what's going to happen is your business is going to start to dwindle. And it's just going to implode on itself because nobody can take action. Mm-hmm. And you know, that's where all of a sudden people you have, you know, accounts with and things like that are going to get nervous. They're going to want all their money. They're going to start attacking the company. I mean, it's, you know, again, something that can be, you know, looked at fairly simple, and a game plan can be built, you know, relatively inexpensively. So that was number 4, establish a power of attorney and a legal framework. Number 5, and this is the 5th one, and this is most important, and I think a lot of it's overlooked, is train and empower your team. Yep. Train and empower your team. I mean, Wendy made a comment about the loom. You know, she uses that to just do little training videos and stuff like that for her team. So that way it's the same person training all the time. It's quick, it's effective. But, you know, again, have those what if scenarios, right? Train your people. Okay, you know, what if Bob from accounting is out? You know, what if my crew, you know, they have a truck and they're going out to do a job and the truck breaks down? What do we do? You know, how do we respond to that? You know, and you're on vacation somewhere and don't want to do it. That's that, you know, again, empowering them to be able to make those decisions, you know, at the appropriate level and things like that. But that way you're not, or the business isn't dependent on just you. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, think about it as business owners, right? We want to be able to take a break sometimes, right? The goal is to eventually, I mean, move from that self-employed to business owner, right? And in the process of doing that, where you don't have to be in your business every day for it to survive, you've got to establish these things and put these things in place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. And I love that you brought up the, you know, the cash flow quadrant, right? And most business owners out there think they're business owners, but really what they do is they own a job. And if they're not there to do it, they're not making money. And that's not a business. That's a job that, you know, you're selling. Again, you're trading your time, selling your time for money. You want to create a business and an environment where your team is empowered. You've got succession plans in place and things like that. So you can go and do the vacations and not worry about it. And your business is going to run continually. It's not going to be an overnight thing, right? It's something that's going to take some time to do, but you can do it in a very short period of time. If you need help on that, make sure you reach out to us. So just to recap, going through the 5 things, number 1 is to create a succession plan, right? What happens is identify those key people, make sure you protect those key people too. Number 2 is build those systems and processes, you know, map it out, use AI to help you, ChatGPT or one of the other, you know, softwares or whatnot. There's even companies out there that have basic frameworks for process and procedures. You just apply your stuff to it. Number 3 is protect your finances with insurance. You can do that, right? And that little, I'm going to save a couple bucks and then something happens and now you lost everything. So again, it's pennies on the dollar for what you're protecting. Establish a power of attorney. This is number 4, establish a power of attorney and legal framework. And number 5, and your employees will love this, train and empower your employees to be, you know, a key part of the team, not just somebody that you're dumping work on their desk every day. So, you know, hopefully that's going to help. And, you know, like I said, we kind of got caught in the lurch a little bit. And it's like, oh, okay. So we kind of reevaluated and said, hey, so, we're people too. We make mistakes. We're small business owners. But it's something that we thought was critical. And again, something that we wanted to share with everybody.
Yeah. And I think it's for the best for you in the business that are in the business all the time. And then those key people that you work with, it's honoring them as well and keeping their best interests at heart. But, we live in this fly by the seat of our pants kind of culture right now. So I would just say pause, take a step back. And especially this time of year, I think it's a great time to establish the plans and get things in place for 2025 and set yourself up for success.
This is true. Well, thanks everybody. Hopefully this helped you a little bit and it can help you prosper in the kingdom. And if you have any other questions or need help on this, please reach out to us. And if you've got a topic that you'd love to hear, please let us know. We definitely want to make sure we get that on there. And, we can't think of everything. This is one thing that just came out of left field for us. So we wanted to share it with you. But we've got Thanksgiving coming up this week. I hope everybody, you and your family, have a fantastic Thanksgiving. Make a point to think of some people you're thankful to. And if you haven't spoken to them in a while, reach out to them via text or call or whatever, and just let them know you're thinking about them, that you're thankful that they're in their lives. And we'll see you next week for more Prosper in the Kingdom. Bye, everybody.